Retail therapy. We do it all the time. Let's see how we can manage it. Welcome in. Coming up on today's program. Before retail therapy becomes a budget buster, you've got to watch this. You might say, I already pay for a therapist. Why not do it myself at the mall and then take something home? You know, after a bad day, you might feel like you deserve a treat and order that pair of shoes or digital gadget you've had your eye on. But how do you curb the urge when an occupational splurge is becoming a budget buster? What is retail therapy? You know, it's really going shopping for the main purpose of making yourself feel better. A study found that a clear majority of shoppers bought something to cheer themselves up. So most people do this. And many of us purchase to celebrate something, and we at What's Next with Money recommend that as one of the several uses of a tax refund: celebration. We might say to ourselves, I deserve this, and maybe we do. Retail therapy is to upgrade your mood or disposition, and it can be things like food, experiences, collections, social outings. You're watching What's Next with Money, a program that holds the promise of second chances, strategies for growth, and financial empowerment. Let's get started. We're talking about retail therapy not being a budget buster, and I'm going to have a special bonus section for you. Retail therapy may work to help you feel good, and it may, but this is likely to be temporary. And it's unlikely to work if it's trying to soothe or smooth out another issue: depression, mental health, spending addiction, pumping up self-esteem, and especially if your credit is out of shape. Retail therapy can be a budget buster and hurt credit record and your credit score if it entails a heavy use of credit. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we are not talking about compulsive buying disorder, which is really a shopping addiction, extreme hoarding. So, question for you in the comments section: what's your advice, or what have you experienced in the world of retail therapy, or those experiences of your friends? Retail therapy to feel good. Not terrible, but at what cost and for how long? What could go wrong? What are the opportunity costs of retail therapy? Here are a few. Not pre-funding the purchase in the first place. Not refilling your checking or savings account after the purchase, or paying off that credit card statement so you don't have a balance that charges interest. Tapping your emergency fund. Revolving consumer debt, including credit cards. Not tracking what you bought. You might end up with duplicates, a never used item, gifts never given, and used time that you can't get back. Now, are there retail therapy substitutes? Absolutely. Retail therapy and the time that you might invest in that can be substituted for some things that might give you more lasting emotional satisfaction: exercise, taking courses, volunteering, including even the ability to attend free events because you have volunteered, mentoring, special causes or campaigns, being active in your faith or community activities. And throughout all these things that I'm mentioning, you get to meet new people in the process, or build or restore relationships. You might learn to repair something or maintain a previous purchase to make it work better. You get a lot of psychic income from that. You could even help launch, even for a friend or with a friend, a business, or convert a hobby to a part-time income. Now, we're going to have a link to a really cool Saturday Night Live sketch called Don't Buy Stuff, featuring Steve Martin, Amy Poehler, and Chris Parnell. And folks, it is a favorite of all financial planners and educators. Then we might think, in today's higher inflationary environment, the idea of downshifting our retail therapy because of inflation. This is like moving down the retail cost scale. Going for, like some folks might say, I only buy luxury goods. Well, they're going to move from luxury to high retail. Or online retail versus closeout or last year's model, or closeouts versus I'm going to fix that thing that needs repair at home. I'm going to take it in for repair. Or I've got a repair item and now I'm going to go slightly used at Goodwill, Salvation Army, the Ark, or veterans organizations. Retail therapy can still happen in a thrift store setting for the deals and even discount days. Now, another retail control method, even if you are thrift store buying, is consider if the purchase is for reselling, repurposing as maybe as part of a small gift, or gifting itself. Now, really, we can justify retail therapy from a number of angles, as we might do with fun food. It's a celebration, it's a pick-me-up, a diversion, an envy play, a reward for accomplishment. Hey, it's what my friends are doing. And it might be a treat as I even navigate inflation. Stay with us. In a couple minutes, I'm going to give you a special bonus section dealing with this area of retail therapy. We're talking about retail therapy not to be a budget buster. And I'll tell you, one of the biggest offenders at budget busting, I'm just going to say it because it's on me. I think a lot of men buy big stuff. Like their retail therapy is, I want something several $100s, not just some little pick-me-up. So I've got this issue occasionally. I visit stores, but now, I go to websites. I certainly buy a lot of used things. But sometimes I have the pressure to buy more just to get free shipping. But for me, what are my big stuff categories? You might ask the men in your life if they have some of their own. Now, for me, I've got these big stuff categories: drums, percussion, paddleboard, canoes, snowboards, art prints, art glass, events, concerts, mid-century modern decorative objects you see on this program, like these microphones. Well, and it's not confined to that. I collect political buttons. I've got 5 of these, and I've got tubs of other buttons. There's always a new campaign. So when do we stop? And when do I stop and reach a saturation points? Am I using these things? Am I playing drums more? Actually, I am. In my move to Colorado a few years ago, I tried and enjoyed skiing, but only rented. Wasn't really that into it, but later I got hooked on snowboarding. I rented for a year and I kind of self-taught myself based on library DVDs and worked my way up to an intermediate level. And later I got pretty good at stand-up paddleboarding. So to keep up or have a complete set for me, hobby or interest, like snowboarding, I usually do a pretty deep dive. Then you got to think about the gear, the time, the transportation, the lift tickets, the passes, the discounts, setting dates with friends, lessons, and you need some exercise to prevent injuries. I even subscribe to some magazines. And then I upgrade for safety over time. So that was my 3rd snowboard. This is my 2nd helmet to prevent big time injury. So yes, I started out buying used, wore the stuff out, and I have actually turned my first board into a bench. Most of these snowboard items I bought on closeout, end of season sales. So, but this is big retail therapy for me. Deep dive into an activity I liked, but I kind of paced myself and took my time. Rented for a year even before I bought. So if you're getting value from this video, be sure to hit the subscribe, smash the like button, moves our content to more folks. Now with retail therapy, we should look at price, value, and getting a discount. And find out, are you actually paying for scarcity? It could be a market that's a little hyped up because there's the perception of scarcity. We should think about listing our whys of buying. Here are some of my whys that I buy. Hey, I always wanted one. I want to learn a skill. I need it for my family to teach or share with my spouse or children. As a kid, I remember this. I want to recapture a feeling, an emotion. And maybe it's something I never had or aspired to, or through the years I lost it, or it could have been stolen. I might have extended family and friend envy. I want to look cool. I want to be part of a club or a group. I want to make up for a loss, a lack in my life, some emotion tied to memory. Now, some folks might go really deep dive and analyze, are there things that you've purchased that you regret? I think we all do. When I worked at the National Endowment for Financial Education, they created a really clever YouTube channel called Spendster. And here people send in videos telling their story of purchases, retail purchases, they grew to regret. And we tallied up the savings of those items over time. It was like a tote board, and it got into the millions of dollars. But we all do that, and there's nothing wrong with it. And we could just, good to learn from it. But let's say you're looking at, let's say, a used small truck. You've never had one before. I call this the law of attraction. Your radar is on. You're driving around. It's like every other vehicle is a truck. You're looking at them with this enhanced attentiveness. Now, you might find a substitute for that, or an item, hopefully it's used, but you could also, like in the case of an RV, you could rent it to experience it and not have a big retail therapy budget buster. Or you might decide over time, hey, it's not for me, or just as important, it's not for me now. And we all realize that technology, safety, prices, and performance change. Plus, there's so many new rental and shared economy opportunities that eliminate the need for ownership. Recently, I went to a major car auction, Barrett-Jackson, out in Scottsdale, Arizona. 10-day event. I've never been to one before. And you know a little bit about my story of buying a used Corvette after waiting many, many years. I still have that. But something wonderful happened on the way to Arizona. At the rental car center, I ended up renting a Mustang. I didn't pay extra for it, but I got at a major car auction for car geeks to drive a muscle car for 10 days. And I loved experiencing it. But then I had another set of joy. I don't have to buy this. I could return it and say I had that beautiful experience. So here's the key bonus section that I promised. Now, these are retail therapy tips from a new app called Qapitial. I'll have a link to them in the comment section and the description. And I've added a few extra tips on my own here with this list. Do have a wish list. Don't buy without price comparison. Do set a budget before spending. Don't buy things that you don't need. You might be buying two or a duplicate because you didn't remember you had the other one at home. This has happened to me several times. Do try shopping with a friend. Watch out for buy now, pay later. And I have a video, What's Next with Money has a video on that new financial service. Don't buy it all in one season or session. Do consider experiences versus purchases. And don't turn retail therapy into a habit. And do find out other ways to feel the retail rush. Find a substitute or rent, like my Mustang story. Don't upgrade for something just for a new look or new capabilities. And by waiting, you pocket the savings. Don't upgrade in most cases through an extended warranty. Instead, use your savings as a de facto insurance premium, insurance pool for repairs, and your savings covers many items that might need repair. A warranty only focuses on one or two items, and in itself, it has limitations and may have deductibles. So you repair as you choose without spending that extra money on the warranty. Don't be afraid of going home empty-handed. Perhaps look for items without your credit or debit card. Then you might say to yourself, oh, I can resell it if it's something specialized. Well, think about baseball cards, Sneakers, stamps, and coins, many have value to pass on or for resale or trading. But what can you really get for these? There are commissions involved, and do you know the real value? It takes time to have a specialist mindset with these, and you may enjoy doing that. But you need some emotional distance from the product or service. Many folks have that, but some don't. Then in behavioral finance, there's something called the endowment effect. If you own an item, you place a higher value on that item just because you have it, it's familiar to it. You remember the effort it took to acquire it, but your valuing is out of step perhaps with the marketplace. You think you could get a higher resale value than is actually realistic. And folks, in this case, we can fool ourselves thinking about that after effect of resale. So I track a little this idea of resale and have to resist the endowment effect because I go after facts. On my net worth statement, in our wonderful video, Net Worth Equals Net Wealth, I list some items that may have resale value, like my house, and there are not many that I do this for. And then I list my 3 used cars, put their year, mileage, market value, just to keep me realistic. And as you know from watching these videos, I stopped buying new cars many, many years ago. I only buy used, I keep them longer, and they're well maintained. We need to be aware of other retail therapy habits, like getting hyped up in a market, like there's scarcity, especially for collectibles. And if you go to conventions or fan fest, there's often the pressure to buy, and pressure to buy now. And then I've disclosed my big interest in certain categories of large retail interest. I call it the secret force of a deep dive into a purchase, a service, or an experience category. In my case, the more I know about it, the more time I've invested into it, the more I may want it. And then down the road, the realization I may not have the time or the extra money to do it, to store it, to insure it, to maintain it, learn it, and enjoy it. Another thing I try to avoid, I try not to be an early adopter. I don't want to be an upgrader in chief. I take my time, I let others pioneer some areas, and then when I acquire it, it's probably more vetted, it may be upgraded and the bugs are out, and it certainly could be at a lower price. Now, folks, for all of us, there is help if we have any kind of chronic problems in this area. And I'll have a list with links in the comments section and the description. Here are a few of the great places you can get help. Debtors Anonymous, credit counseling, financial counseling, and financial therapy, which is kind of a new professional area. Retail therapy is not a replacement for family, friends, and authentic service to others. But those 3 things can be a replacement for retail therapy. So be sure to hit that subscribe and that like button. And remember, new episodes of What's Next with Money are posted for your consumption pleasure on Thursdays.